First got interested with blacksmithing, I suppose. We moved into the area, and the house I was in at the time backed onto the Bassett's Forge before they built a load more houses. I used to disappear through a hole in the hedge at the bottom of the garden, appear in the back of the old forge, say hello to Rodney and just sit for hours watching him at the fire working late at night. I was a tree surgeon for a small period of time, and that's really about it, other than the fact that I was in the fire brigade for the best part of 30 years. I got started in blacksmithing sort of slightly through sort of mishap more than anything else. I was actually a student on a course in London doing an H&D in mechanical engineering, and I went to see Rodney, and the chap who was doing a lot of his welding at the time had gone ill, and I ended up doing his welding and basically taking over the running of the business. And when he sold up, I bought the majority of his tools. But it was Rodney who taught me a lot of the trade. Once upon a time there would have been probably about 3 or 4 other blacksmiths in the Wadhurst village.
My name is Verity Powell and I am Andy's daughter. I got into blacksmithing through me growing up seeing Dad.
Verity used to come here as a young child because I'd have to pick her up from the school. So she was always really in the workshop and seeing me work. But then when I needed help, she'd be there as a set of hands, and if it was safe enough, then I'd obviously get Verity to come and help. And you sort of grown into it, really.
I've still got a lot to learn as where to strike the metal, because it never seems to go quite how I expect, and Dad just looks at me and shakes his head. I love living around all of our mad creations.
So it sort of runs in the family. Obviously the work has changed a lot in recent years. Again, I don't just do ornamental work, I do sort of repair work for farmers still. The sort of work we do on the forge would be the ends of mainly curtain poles, fireplace sets, scrolls.
Metal work around the houses and farms and things, gates, fireplaces.
Examples of my work in Wadhurst, there's quite a few. There's loads of little brackets I see from time to time going down the High Street, which stick in your mind.
Be driving on the way to the shops and Dad will go, oh, I made that fence. Oh, I wonder how the railings are doing up.
They're all over the shop, really.
Benches out on the War Memorial, Dad made and I designed.
A lot of it's been for the castle, obviously. Internal staircase and gates. A very large set of hinges for 2 huge oak doors in the walled garden. Recently we made an ornate gate. Susanna, who owns the castle, saw the gate in its sort of rarity outside and rather liked the way it looked. Well, unfortunately it was just ordinary steel that had been welded together and cleaned up with a wire brush, so it sort of sparkled a bit, which led us to a problem because that's how she wanted it to see it in the garden.
Recently I had someone come in and ask for a likeness of their Jack Russell made out of scrap. So I tend to use odds and ends we find in here, which there are plenty, because I think it really captured the character of a Jack Russell. With the sculptural stuff anyway, you have an image of what you're making as you see it as it goes along, or you kind of have that, and with the dog it was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to look like, and then right on like the last day or 2 days it was like, ah, that's a Jack Russell, we got it just right. Personally, I reckon in the next few years you'll probably end up getting a few more people wanting more art pieces.
We see more and more of it moving that way purely into the art realms. Again, I'm doing for that artist out Ticehurst a lot more sculptures.
If we had no constraints on money or time or anything like that, I would make a full-size tiger. I want to make like a leopard leaning, like, you know how cats lean over things and they play like this.
If there weren't any restraints to time, money and machinery, a huge double pair of gates, I think, some grand house in London.
I'd love to keep the creative side of it going, and I guess just the whole thing of having a blacksmith in Wadhurst, I'd love to retain that.
Future of blacksmithing in Wadhurst. Well, that's down to you, really.
No.